Hi all, so today we are learning a new lesson on difference of two squares. So that's the title of our lesson. Good thing I can spell, difference of two squares, okay? And when we are looking at factoring out a difference of two squares, we're looking for three major parts, and then I'm going to show you the equation that we look for, okay? So my first part that I'm looking for is making sure that both numbers are perfect squares, okay? And what I mean by perfect squares is if the number could be square rooted evenly, that is a perfect square. So example, the square root of 4 equals 2. Perfect, right? So 4 is a perfect square. Square root of 9 is 3. So 9 is a perfect square. Square root of 1 is 1. So 1 is a perfect square. Okay, that's what I mean by perfect square. We also need to look for a subtraction sign. So there has to be a subtraction sign. Okay, so in the problem, there has to be a subtraction sign. And lastly, there has to be an exponent of 2. And what I mean by that, so example, x squared, the exponent is 2. Okay, so there has to be something that looks like that. Okay, and then lastly, this is the most important part. This is the equation that we look for. Okay, it's something that looks very similar to this. So we have a squared minus b squared. Okay, and this formula or equation equates to this. So equals a plus b, a minus b. So when we find this will just be our end answer, okay? And what I mean by that is I will explain it to you in number 1, okay? So for number 1, I am looking to see if both numbers that I see are perfect squares. And I know that 25 and 36 are perfect squares because the square root of 25 is 5 and the square root of square root of 36 is 6, okay? So that checks off the first one. Do I see a minus sign? Yes, so that checks off the second one. And do I see an exponent of 2? Yes, so that checks off the third one. So now that I have 3 checks, I can then go ahead and start my solving. So what I'm going to do now is I need to get this into a squared minus b squared, okay? I only have one that's a squared, so I need to do something that's a little bit different, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the square root of 25, which in this case is 5, and then you're going to write as so. So by writing it like this, your squared is also equal to 25. So 5 squared is equal to 25, okay? Then you're going to keep the subtraction sign, and then we're going to find the square root of 36y squared. Now remember, when we find the square root of a term that's already squared, this cancels and this cancels, right? And what is the square root of 36? This case would be 6, and the y stays, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and write a little squared. So now I have my a and b. And what I mean by having my a and b is whatever is in the inside of the parentheses, okay? So my 5 and my 6y. Now that I have a and b, I want to make it look like so. So my a is 5, and remember when I'm looking here, if I'm looking here, my plus comes first. So I'm going to say plus b. So 5 plus 6y, and then the second one is 5 minus 6y. Okay, so the only difference in these answers is having the negative sign and the addition sign. So that's how you're going to solve these, okay? Then we go on to number 2. So I need to ask myself my first 3 questions. Is number 4 and 25 perfect squares? Yes. Is there a subtraction sign? No. So this is not a difference of two squares because there is an addition sign. Okay, so we're not going to solve it because there's a plus sign here. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one. I'll use green for this one, okay? So remember, when we have just a variable, you could always put a 1 in front, okay? So if that helps you see things better, you could do so. So I'm looking at both numbers here. Is 1 and 9 perfect squares? Yes. Is there a subtraction sign? Yes. And is there an exponent of 2? Yes. So I know that I can go ahead and solve this one, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the square root of 1x squared. And what comes out is 1x. And then I'm going to write it as so. Okay? Then my minus sign says, and then what I could do is I need to square 9y squared. And the square root of 9 is 3. And then always keep the y and add a little squared. Okay? Now that we've done this, we have a and b. And once again, we need to make our final answer look as so. So now we're just using our a and b and we're plugging in. So I know my a is 1x and I need to put a plus sign, and then my b is 3y. And then I know that my second one, I am just switching my positive sign to a negative sign. And this is my end answer. Okay, so that's how you'll be doing these. So then we're going to go ahead and look at this last one. I'm going to use yellow so you could see my check marks. Now, are both of these numbers perfect square? 16 and 9. Yes, they both have equal square roots. Now, there has to be a negative sign. Is there a negative sign? Yes. Is there an exponent? No. So you're going to write no because there is no exponent of 2. Okay? So that's what we're looking for in each of these. All right? So I'm going to go ahead. If you need to stop and pause and, get your stuff together and write down some things, go ahead and do so. But I'm going to go ahead and go on to number 1. Okay? So I am looking for my 3 questions. Are both numbers perfect squares? Yes. Is there a minus sign? Yes. And is there a square? Yes. So I know that I can go ahead and solve this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the square root of 9x squared, and the square root of 9 is 3, and then I always keep an x. Remember, put a little squared. Always keep my minus. And now I need to find the square root of 64, which is 8, and keep a y. Okay? So now I have my a and b. And I need to write it in the term of a plus b, a minus b. So my a is 3x, and my b is 8y. Remember, the first one is always a positive, okay? And then I'm just going to go ahead and write the next parenthesis, but put a minus instead of a positive sign, okay? This is my answer. I stopped there, okay? Go ahead and go on to the next one. So remember, you could always put a 1 here if you need. Is 1 and 4, ask yourself the same 3 question. Is 1 and 4 perfect squares? Yes. Is there a minus sign? Yes. And is there an exponent? Yes. So you can go ahead and solve this, okay? So I'm taking the square root of 1a, which gives me 1a, right? And then I'm going to take the square root of 4, which is 2. Remember to put your exponents, okay? This just helps you label a and b. Okay, so now I am looking for a plus b, a minus b. So now that I know my a and b, I can go ahead and plug in. 1a plus 2 and 1a minus 2. This is my answer. Okay? Go ahead and do number 3. Ask myself the same 3 questions. Are they both perfect squares? Yes, because we could put a 1 in front technically here. Is there a minus sign? Yes. And is there an exponent? Yes. So I can go ahead and solve this. So square root of 25 is 5. Put a little square. And the square root of 1x squared is 1x. Go ahead and put a little squared. Now we know our a and b. Remember, a plus b, a minus b. Go ahead and plug in. So my a is 5, and my b is 1x. And do the same thing, but switch the sign. Okay? All right, we're going to go on to the next one. 49 and 1. Are those perfect squares? Yes. Is there a minus sign? Yes. And is there a squared? An exponent of 2? Yes. Okay, so then what I'm going to go ahead and do is there a square root? What's the square root of 49x squared? Okay, and that gets me 7x. Remember to put it in my parentheses. And then the square root of 1 is just 1. Okay, so now I have my a and b. So plug in a plus b, a minus b. So you're just going to go ahead and plug in. So my a is 7x plus my b. And then 7x minus 1. Okay, so you're just switching your signs. 5 is the same thing as number 1, so we're not going to do that one. Okay, so on to number 6. Are these two numbers perfect squares? Yes. Is there a subtraction sign? Yes. And is there an exponent of 2? Yes. So I can go ahead and solve, okay? So square root of 4x squared is 2x, and I'm going to put a little square. Okay? Then I need to go ahead and do the next one. The square root of 36 is 6, and put a little square. Okay? Now I have my a and b, a plus b, a minus b, and go ahead and plug in. So 2x plus 6, 2x minus 6. Okay? If I'm going too fast, please pause this as I go to each number, okay? This is just pretty simple, so keep following, okay? All right, so asking myself the same 3 questions. Perfect squares? Yep. Minus? Yep. And is there an exponent? Yep. Okay, so go ahead and find the square root of 9x squared. So I'm going to find 3x squared. And then the square root of 49 is 7. So I can go ahead and put that in my problem. Okay, and then label my a and my b. All right, so last thing, a plus b, a minus b. Okay, and go ahead and plug in. So 3x plus 7 and 3x minus 7. And this is your end answer, okay? So on your homework, you're going to do problems 1 through 25. Okay, and you need to hand that in to me. All right, if you have any questions, you could text me or email me.